an incredible opportunity it has been for me to sit down with this country's most incredible entrepreneurs. I got an opportunity to sit down with photographer Sphiwe Mhlambi. Well, I call him a storyteller. And if you are an entrepreneur or a business person, his story is definitely going to inspire you. Stay tuned.
South Africans are storytellers. We tell our stories through music, dance, theatre, art, literature and film. Today we focus on one of our country's foremost visual storytellers, who ranked amongst the top 30 jazz photographers in the world. He shares with us how the lens of his first camera changed his view of the world and himself.
It's one of those. You're the talent, you're the business. Time is money for you. So when I say thank you for your time, it's quite a thing, is it not for you?
It is, because I deal on time and I'm the company. As a person that I am sitting here right next to you, it's a business. Obviously, it did not start that way. I was just enjoying taking photos. At the time when I began the career of being a photographer, I was taking photos and I was trying to get out of poverty. I was trying to be in a place where I could live better. Now, with that has been said, the person that gave me a camera was a person that took me to school for the first time when I was 13 years old. I was not attending school. I used to be called Mahlalela, which is somebody that stays home and do nothing. But then I was doing gardens for the old men that lived there. I used to do school gardens. I used to do all the odd jobs, but not going to school. So when this happened, when this lady came to count people in my home, where I used to be, so-called home, I don't know. And then everybody was counted except me. I was not mentioned in any of the routine of the house or the permit or anything like that. And then she asked, why am I not going to school? Why am I not attending school? And then they explained, well, somebody left me there and disappeared. And that person is in prison, which is my father. The argument became tense between this lady and the old man that was there, because this old man was not willing to let me go, because then it means his production will be lessened. Because I sell coal for him, I sell firewood, I clean gardens and all that. But then she threatens with social workers. Somehow he agreed that I should go to school. I was 13 years old. So this lady was very active. Her name is Japila Pukela. She's still around. I respect her so much. So that process of going to school with her, I think around June, around this time of the year, and then she could only do it for a period, and said, I can't afford to take you to school every day, pay a taxi, because it was far. It was from Rockville to Zola 1. We lived in Rockville, which is now called Morocco North. And a little test, she says, you have to find other means of making money so that you can go to school and buy yourself clothes. So she gave me a camera. Did
she have a camera? There was just a camera that was lying around?
No. How it happened that it was, those Kodak Sportmatic 110. She had that at home, but nobody was using it.
Okay.
It was just a camera lying around there, and then, like, this guy, somebody can use it. So she gave it to me. And when she gave it to me, I still couldn't read or write. But it took me about a year. Then I studied this thing and I just didn't figure it out, how it works. How do you insert the film? And what do you do with the film? All of those things. But then eventually I got to understand how it works. So at school where she took me, they allowed me to sell sweets. So I'll stock up a packet of hamburgers and break it in pieces and sell to students so I can buy film. So it happened until I could afford my film. I had a film, now I need to take pictures and get paid. That was another process on its own, but it happened that I ended up being popular in my community, where I take pictures of weddings, sports, all sorts of things. But the idea that now I can go to school, I can manage myself, because I used to admire just these cool kids passing where I live, and I could see them in white shirts and clean clothes. Because if you had asked me at that time, when was the last time I had a bath or wash or anything, I wouldn't even recognize, I wouldn't even remember.
So, what then is your earliest memory of your childhood?
It's June 16. I remember June 16. Power, my fist and tear gas. That's what I remember. Other than that, I remember me as a child laborer. All my life I was working, but I don't know who I was working for. So I used to work. The old man that lived in that house used to be a gardener at a school. So he will take me with, while other kids are in a class, and I'll be mending the garden with him, you know. And then when the school is done, and then we all go home. But my memories are vague and they're painful. Normally I don't like talking about them, but it's a past now. They developed me to be what I am today.
Did you have a relationship with him, or were you just a laborer?
I was left there by my father. My father was on a run from the authority. His family refused to take us. It was me and my younger brother. They refused somehow. I mean, these are the stories that he tells me, because I didn't have any source of information on what happened, who did what and not. So he would, the old man would say, he would call me Skebekwa, or Ngwana Sikebekwa. I don't, in English, he would say, child of a thug. So, and I grew up thinking that is my name. But then that was because of my father. He was a member from Somi gang, he was a gangster, he was a very notorious person. But I don't know why would I take a fault for that. But fast forward, he showed up again, 24 years later.
You had started going to school?
Yeah, I started going to school.
Had your camera?
I was popular, I was already working in the media, I was famous, you know, all of that. And my name would be in newspapers, Spiwe Mhlambi. But when he showed up, I still did not have my ID.
And I was going to ask you about that. So Mhlambi's name is whose name?
It's his. But
so the old man at least allowed you to carry on with your surname?
Yeah, I give him that. So him coming back, which I respect him for that. Honestly, I do respect him for that. He came back, and then that's how I got my ID. But even though he did not have the paperwork, he still didn't have my birth certificate. He did not know certain things, but he remembered my date of birth.
Oh.
Which is the only thing.
Does that mean you had just found out for the first time what your date of birth was?
Yes.
All along?
I did not know. I could not be employed full-time. I was a freelancer. Because every time I end up in a newspaper, I can't be employed because I don't have official papers, official documents. So I'll loom around as a freelancer.
So with a life story like that, and the camera being sort of the one thing that was what, it was more than just a camera.
It was a weapon. It was spiritual. And that's why I operate the camera today the way I operate it, because it didn't come to me as a tool or as a trade or as a career. It was something bigger than that. It came to me and it transformed me completely. You know, it changes everything. Up to this day, I still live off a camera. I have a family, I've got children, been married twice and divorced twice. But life as it is to me, it came to me as a camera. Not as a human being, not as a person, but as a camera. But that camera transformed me completely. I remember those days when I used to hustle with it, without direction, without knowing where this thing is taking me. And I would always throw myself in dangerous situations because I had no name to live for. I had no legacy to protect. Actually, I just wanted to die. That's how painful it was. So I would throw myself in most dangerous places. And somehow I'll come up with iconic images. Gangsters, knife fightings, you know. That was popular at the time when people place dies in street corners. And then the police show up and then everybody runs. And I'm in the thick of thing now taking pictures.
Bit of a trade-off. You give your life to the camera gives you back something more.
Exactly. So I lived with that. At some point it started making sense. Oh, okay, because you see where you're going with this thing. But it's not a business at that time. It's something that is attached to you. So I moved with it, and I had so many challenges. A lot of things that I wish I knew then. And I don't think they would have made me a better person, but I just wish I knew that. What I know now about that probably would have made me a better person.
So you find yourself in this relationship with this camera.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems to me like it's been there with you.
Yeah.
Even as you said,
Yeah.
you meet someone, you get married,
Yeah.
they move on, you move on, you meet somebody. But the camera has been the constant
Absolutely.
partner.
Even when I was still young, even when I was still in that ages of 15, that camera was the only thing I owned. You must know I did not own a cloth that I was wearing. I did not have a pair of shoes until I was about 18. I never owned shoes. I never had a shoe that fit me. I never had anything that says, when you leave, take this with you, it's yours, go. The camera was the only thing that I had.
I'm curious why the first instinct was not to sell the camera.
It didn't even occur to me that I should sell the camera.
You know what I'm saying?
I could have.
Yes, because you don't have clothes, you don't have anything.
Yeah.
You possibly are just fighting to survive.
So if I sold the camera, I would have had a meal for that day. But the following day, then there wouldn't be anything else.
And you knew that?
I knew that at that age.
At that age?
As young as I was, I knew that this thing is my savior.
So then, it then begs the question, how do you take care of this camera? Which is much more than a trade, a business. It's more. It's much. It sounds to me like it's much more than that. And you knew that early.
Yeah.
How do you look after this asset?
You know, when there's the only thing that you own, that is yours. Because then I ran away from that house. And this is when, school, probably standard 8, 9, 10, around there, I left. And then by leaving, then it means I'm nowhere to be found. I can live in your house today, tomorrow I'll be in that house, the other day I'm in that house. So I just became this person that is got no identity, nobody who know who you are. But they see you, they recognize you every day. So I needed to find myself. I needed to know who I was. And then around that time, this is when now things were getting hostile around Soweto. Inkatha fight,
80s.
ANC, students, riots, and all of that. Like I said, I always throw myself in danger because I just wanted to die, There will be a funeral of a comrade, and then they hijack cars, drive them to the cemetery, Patco buses, and they burn them. I'll still be there. A stray bullet maybe will come towards me, and then tomorrow there will be a night vision for me, because night vision was just the order of the day, And I keep pushing myself there, but I think the higher powers had a different plan for me. It didn't happen. When I realized that I have a career, somebody sent me to Soweto, gave me the address and the name of a person to say, go sell your pictures at that place. Speak to this person. That person was Robert Magwaza. I took a taxi, went to Industrial, and I found Robert, and I told him, this is me, I have this film, I take pictures, and he said, give me a minute, let me have a look at it. Took my film and I go to the dark room and processed it. Came back, he came out with a picture that he loved. But I did not know that, I didn't even know the procedure of what happens, So he says, no, next time when you have a film, come back here. So the following day when I wake up, I see everybody calls me in my area. Emonayo, I in the newspaper. Front page of, I think that was 1990. First time my picture was published. It was a burning bus by the students of Muletsane High. And I looked at it and I said, whoa, okay. Now I can do this. If this is going to happen, I will do that. And then you ask earlier on, how much did I get paid?
Yes.
$25 for that image.
What did it mean to you at the time?
It didn't mean anything. I didn't even want that money.
Wow.
I didn't want that money. I wanted recognition. I wanted a break, So that inspired me. I gained courage that I didn't even know where it came from.
Do you know what you did with the $25?
I probably left it there until it was maybe 100 rands, and then they take 25% tax. And even that money, they pay you with a check.
Yes, I remember that.
I don't have a bank account.
Bank account?
I don't have ID. I have nothing. So what am I going to do with a check? And then one of the staffers at Sowetan advised me there's a shop down the road, Indian shop, where they exchange such checks. But then you have to spend half of the check. So the 250 I left with 175. Half of it I bought things that meant nothing to me, you know. So yeah, it happened that way. It was order of the day, but you start building character. You start shaping the person that you're going to be from those things that are happening.
I didn't call you a photographer when we started because I didn't think that's the sum total of who you are or your business is. Because I think it's bigger than that.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So when you go about doing your work and you have this, I guess the camera still remains the biggest
until
asset.
I die.
Until you die, right? But things have changed. I mean, the technology has moved on, and has the phone replaced your camera yet?
It will never. No. It will never. And I still shoot on film.
Yes.
Although we have mirrorless cameras, digital cameras, I use them. But my personal work is on film.
Okay. Yeah. So how do you protect this treasure? I'll call it a treasure.
Yeah. I made a vow that I will not expand myself to be a popular guy. I will give my service as it is, as I can hand over a piece of paper. I thought I should be loyal to that because that's who I am. You call me an entrepreneur, a businessman, it's okay, but I am an artist. I capture souls of people and I present back to them. So my way of photographing, of shooting, is I can take a camera, I won't just point at you and then take pictures. I read your mind, I read your soul, and I find something that works for you. And when I give it back to you, you'll probably say, oh, I didn't know I look this way. Because it's not a photo, it's a piece of art that is deep in me. So I give you part of me. And that's why my subject is reflective of my community, of where I come from. You know, you become such your background creates something with you, what you become. And you must allow that to happen. I probably, at my age right now, probably would have a million companies that are photographic companies and all that. But I was never really interested in that. And that's what when I say I wish I knew certain things that I don't know now. Well, I didn't know then. I wish I could know them today, especially in the business of photography. So, the business. What is a business of photography?
What are then those things that you wish you knew when you started, perhaps? And I know this is not quite. You didn't start off as a business.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
So, what are the things you wish you knew when you decided this may be your life's work?
I did so many things wrong, you know. Money was never a priority to me. Money came in and left, you know. I never hogged to it. I never held on to the money. And I never even protected the money. I couldn't insure my equipment. And when I lost equipment, then that's the end of me. I couldn't get people that will help me shape a business. It was always an individual because I felt, why do I need these people for? And some people say, no, you need an accountant, you need a taxman, you need this, you need that. I said, okay, but what do they do? This is then when I did not know, and that cost me a fortune.
It's a tricky one because you frame yourself as an artist, and I totally get that, right? Then there's the asset, which is the camera. But you also tell me that you didn't value your life.
No.
You are the business. Yeah. You don't value you. Yeah. How then are you able to run a business when you are the business that doesn't value itself?
My circumstances are different today. Then I had nothing to live for. I've got children today. I've got family, and I have responsibilities. As much as a camera is paying for all of that, but I don't see it still as a commercial tool. It's like somebody who says, I want to do yoga and then cleanse yourself. A camera in my hand gives me that peace. I wish I could only do the things that I love with camera rather than to make money with it. That's my wish. But obviously you can't. And I can't do any, I didn't even study photography. self-taught.
And I bet you hate the admin, right?
I do.
The
with a passion.
The
Yes.
taxmen and so on.
Yes. So I'm not giving space to be myself, because then you have to follow the rules. You have to follow the procedure. There's government rules that you have to be updated with your taxes, be in good standing with this and all that. But now shift your way. I mean, even if you can get somebody to do that, which now we do, but I still emphasize that I wish I could just be left alone and just enjoy my art and then do it the way I would love to do it.
Are you at a different place now?
Oh, yes.
As a business,
Yes.
the key things that you wish you knew running as a business, what are those things?
Well, I own a studio. I have a studio. I've invested in my equipment. I have a good clientele. I have people support in the business that I have. So that's only now. But it was not always the case back then. So nowadays, yes, I comply across the board. Because now, especially the people you deal business with, they need you to comply. If we do a project with government, you need to comply. I have a sitter, I have to comply, where I train people. You have projects I mentor, you still have to comply. So all of that is coming back to say, now run the business. We understand it's a passion, we understand is your art, but it's also a business.